Jeffrey Scott, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm well, my friend. It's great to see you. I don't think I've actually seen you since we met in London a couple of years ago. We had lunch
more
at
more than a
Equinox.
couple of years ago now, actually. A number of years ago, but let's not go there. So tell me,
We
where are
haven't
you?
changed today. You look fantastic. You look
Thank
great.
you, and you the
Good to
same.
see you.
So where are you? Where are you dialing in from today?
I am coming to you live from the brand new Body Studios here in Los Angeles, California.
And where in Los Angeles? Are you in Santa Monica as well, or are you somewhere else?
No, our headquarters are in Santa Monica, and we have studios in Van Nuys, the Beachbody Studios. This studio is a new one for us. It's down in Playa Vista. So it's a little bit south of Santa Monica. It's very close to LAX. And we took on the space to build the stage for Body because we needed a very specific
large space
to accommodate the size of the Body stage, which is spectacular. So this was the location that we hunted for many, many months. We landed here, and yeah, I've been coming here every single day since we took over the space, getting ready to launch this new platform in September.
So we're going to talk a lot more about that because I'm really curious to know all about it. I just realized that the last time we probably spoke, I probably worked for I spoke in person. I would have worked for Beachbody and you were outside of Beachbody, and now we've switched.
Yeah, exactly. You were with Beachbody, and Barbara Brodowski connected us together.
Yeah. Friend of the podcast.
Yeah. So she connected us. We had lunch, and yes, I was working at Equinox as the head of education and training for them. And I was in London doing some training. I think we had pretty much just recently opened the club there, and the Kensington Club. And you were working for Beachbody, and I was doing some consulting for Beachbody as well at that time.
So you've already touched on this, and you've obviously got a long history of working in fitness for a lot of different companies. Why don't you tell me a little bit about exactly what you're doing now, which you've already alluded to, and then maybe a little bit about sort of your background and what you've done prior to Beachbody.
Sure. So currently I am the vice president of fitness, nutrition, and results for the Beachbody company. And I oversee three large categories. We call it F&R. I mean, I just sort of alluded to it, but the fitness category is the category that I oversee. And that is, I have a team of people, and what we do on the fitness aspect is we work with the super trainers in creating all the programs that go into Beachbody. And we meet with Carl to figure out what his vision is. We meet with the super trainer to figure out what their vision is for the program. And then we try to blend it together and create the best product possible. So that's my fitness team that I oversee. And then I also oversee the nutritional team, which helps to keep both Portion Fix and UPF, how we integrate those programs into all of our fitness programming. We also have, underneath the umbrella of nutrition, a whole culinary department that creates all of the recipes for all of our blogs and the meal plans. And we work with, again, Portion Fix and Tubi with their recipe development as well. So that's my nutrition team. And then I oversee the results team, which is every time you see Beachbody, it's usually seen with a before and an after picture, right? That's You're very much known for we call them the B&A, the before and after. So what the results team does is that once we have the program developed, we then do a casting for participants for our test groups. And we do, the before picture, we take them through the program, we help them with the nutrition so that we can show an after picture, and then use that for marketing to show the public how incredible our programs, when they are done correctly with proper nutrition, can really help somebody achieve the results that they want to achieve. So those are my three departments that I oversee, F and R.
That's a lot of stuff.
It is, but I tell you, Will, I honestly, I feel like the luckiest guy in fitness. After 30 years of being in this industry, I felt like it was just prepping me for this position. And it was, I can tell you the story a little bit later on how I got into this, but this position specifically. But, I love this company. I believe in everything that we're doing. I couldn't be more excited about what's coming up in our future. And this is the company that I really stand behind. They are the real deal. And I am honored to be here. Yep.
I have to say, when I found out that you got this job, I was really excited because being someone who's been in the fitness industry for not as long as you, but quite a long time, and seeing some of the people that run fitness for some other brands, and I'm not going to speak of any in particular, quite often it's someone that I am surprised about because I don't feel like they necessarily have that deep knowledge of fitness and instructing and what it takes to deliver classes, deliver results, deliver workouts. Whereas with you, you're absolutely someone who has kind of lived it and breathed it and done it. And now at a point where you can really give that back to everybody who is at a different part of their profession, right? Like they're at the presenter part rather than the developer part. And I think that's really exciting because it's really good to know that the person that is helping these people to create the formats is someone that has been there, done it, but also has like a lot of knowledge and deep knowledge when it comes to how to deliver a great fitness experience. So on that, why don't you tell me about how you very first got into fitness? All those years ago.
Yeah. It's been a long time. Let me try to think back that far. So it really is not that far, and it's quite a fun story. But I went to college for business and psychology, and it wasn't for me. So when I was done with school, while going through school, I was a disc jockey and I was a DJ in nightclubs. So I always loved music. Growing up, I played guitar and piano, and music has always been a passion of mine. So I was a nightclub disc jockey going through college, and I used to spin records like vinyl. And
that's already giving us a time period, right?
Exactly. So for anyone listening who doesn't know what vinyl is, it's that large black round vinyl disc that your parents probably have cartons of in their garage. So, when I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, that's where I grew up, and I met somebody from LA who was an actor and a dancer, and we became friends. I thought, you know what, I'm going to move to LA, and I am going to become a music producer and pursue this passion of mine for music. So I moved to LA. Little did I know that wasn't as easy as I had thought it was in my head in Cleveland. But the cool part was that I had friends that were dancers, and I could move. I had rhythm. I knew music. I could find the downbeat and 8 count and 32 count from music and spinning records. So I started doing some dancing, and I loved that. So music and movement became part of my life for a while. And then one day, a good friend of mine who I was working with took me to my very first step class.
Yeah.
So you know where this is going. And I was in this step class. Now, I was a little uncoordinated because I didn't understand how I was going to manipulate this box that I was walking around. But, halfway through the class.
Was it an actual box, a wooden box, or was it a step?
No, it was actually the real step platform.
Oh, it was a Reebok step. Okay, because I remember the wooden box.
Yes, yeah, me too. So all of a sudden, light bulbs started going off, and I'm like, my God, this room is packed. And this guy is in front of like 75 people. And that's, at nightclubs, they were full. I love being in front of people like that. I love being able to manipulate people and their energy through music. And then I could do that with step. So there's music that I love. I'm moving, and it's very, controlled. Once I got the hang of it, I knew what the expectation was. I could do it. And I thought to myself that this could potentially be something for me. So I started taking class all the time. I started working out more and more. I got my personal training certification. I got several clients. Then I befriended somebody who was a teacher at the club that I was taking class at. He helped me learn how to teach. And then I auditioned and I got a class. And, that's sort of the story. I was also simultaneously working the front desk at the old Jane Fonda studio. So everyone has that sort of
very nice
with Jane doing this long enough. So, and then, that's how I started to do it. And what ended up happening is that I was teaching and I was training here in Los Angeles. Then I decided to move to Chicago for several reasons, which I won't need to go into details here. And I ran a fitness facility in Chicago. I met a guy and we were dating, and then he moved to New York. I quickly followed. And it was actually the best thing I ever did, because when I landed in New York, it was the mid 90s. Fitness was on fire. There were 3 Equinoxes at the time. And to give you some perspective, there's over 100 and something now. And I went to work for Equinox. I started training celebrities. Like, things just started to rock and roll for me. Like, the universe came together, and I knew Will, in that moment, I knew like I am exactly where I need to be. This is what I was put on the earth for, was to help people, to motivate them into living a healthier lifestyle. And when I was doing the teacher trainer thing for about 2 years, I had many friends who were presenters and in the industry. Uh, a very dear friend, John Giswald, who has passed now, was my mentor at the time. He's like, Jeffrey, I have this opportunity. There's this company coming to the US called Les Mills, and they're launching a program called Body Pump, first time ever in the US, and they're developing a team. Do you want to be a part of it? And I was like, sure, great, I would love to. So I joined that wagon with Molly Fox and Carrie Anderson and Andre Houlet. And for anyone who's new, you probably don't know these names, but these are
Molly Fox is popping up in Apple Fitness now, though, right?
She is.
Yeah, which I was really stoked to see. Really cool.
They're so lucky to have her, and she's nothing short of magic. That woman is incredible. So I went to Atlanta, Georgia for an intensive 1 week how to be a presenter for Body Pump training. And if you know Body Pump, which I know you do well, you know, I've never been fitter in my life. I took like 3 or 4 Body Pump classes a day. I was like ripped. It was incredible. But Body Pump and Emma Berry and Kathy Stevens and Steve Renata and Michael Sweeney, like all of them taught. They were so good at what they did, and what an incredible introduction to being a presenter. So then I started presenting for Body Pump. That was my first introduction to being an educator, which I knew I wanted to do from the moment I got to New York. And I was doing that for approximately a year and a half. And then I was very good friends with Petra Colbert and Lisa Wheeler. I became friends with Jen Miller. And these are all people that were associated with the Reebok team and Reebok University, which at the time was just this growing first ever in the industry, like this team of people that were dedicated to doing research on fitness, creating education around it, and then delivering the education to instructors and trainers globally. Well, they offered me an opportunity. So I had to leave Body Pump on great terms, of course. And then I went to work for Reebok, and that literally changed my life. I was working with the most brilliant minds. I can say that because that's my opinion, in the industry at the time. I was part of this incredible team. Having a brand like Reebok behind you didn't hurt. And I started to fine tune my presentation skills. I had a knack for developing programming, so they embraced that and brought me onto the program development team. So I got to run with that. And then I started traveling the world, teaching trainers and instructors fitness education and programming. And I get goosebumps talking about it right now, because to this day, I just feel like that, again, I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to have been given that opportunity and been able to step into that space and thrive.
Right. It's interesting, right? Because thinking about now, I don't know that whole traveling educator and presenter for fitness will really exist anymore, because it can all be done live stream, right? Like there was a time when you had to go to conventions and be there in person and learn from the people in person. And while I think that digital opens up so many opportunities that I'm sure we're going to talk about, there's a certain element of that side of fitness presenting that's probably gone away.
I couldn't agree more with you, especially now with COVID too, right? So COVID has changed the world as we know it, and fitness as we know it. And I'm sure we will talk about that. But, you know, we didn't have Zoom, you know, we had cell phones, but we had computers. I mean, I remember writing up my first notes for World Idea and typing them, because I didn't have a
typewriter
computer at the time. I was typing my choreography.
Oh,
and I know people listening to might be like, this guy must be ancient. I'm not really ancient, but that's how it was.
Yeah.
And so, you know, then traveling and you know this, you know, there's nothing like being at a conference in a room full of 100, 150 people who are just hanging on your every word. And then when you hit play and you teach that step class or that movement class or whatever it might be, and everyone gets it, and the energy, like it was my drug. It was my drug of choice. And I traveled forever and ever and ever. And, you know, that was a magical time. And I really traveled quite a bit in my career. Then after, you know, some time, I always did that, but I also started to work for other brands and consulting for people. I went to work for Equinox as a group fitness manager for them because I wanted a day job. I wanted something that anchored me a little bit and not be on the road so much. And then when I started to work for Equinox, again, my life changed quite a bit. And then they started building an internal education team. So Lisa Wheeler, myself, LaShawn Dale, we all started to create signature formats for Equinox as it started to grow and expand. And that's, it was a great, I worked for Equinox for almost 20 years collectively. And what an honor it was to be a part of that brand and to see it grow and to be a part of its success was just fantastic. It's funny, quick story is that when I left New York to move to LA with my husband, when I first moved to LA, I had to go to work for 24-hour fitness in their corporate office because there were no Equinoxes out here at the time.
Yeah.
So what's cool about that is I got to go to 24, which is a huge brand, huge. Like at the time they had 400 clubs.
Yeah.
And I worked with Donna Meyer and I was the head of education for them. And I developed a master trainer team and we did our own little mini conferences and I created all the content for those and trained the trainers and we did our own little mini conferences. I eventually left that and went back to Equinox when they started opening up on the West Coast, moved back to New York, moved back to LA. I've been all over the place. But I will tell you, my through line for my entire career is that program development and education has always been the top of my list. It's always been what I do. And it's always been my passion. It is, to me, like the greatest gift is to be able to share some knowledge that I have and see someone take it, use it, and then soar. And to be able to help people fulfill their greatest potential has been my life's work. And it's been so much fun. So much fun. So I hope I didn't take too long in explaining that.
No, not at all.
That's been my career.
The point that I wanted the listeners to kind of hear about all of the different things that you've said is like funny, so many through lines, right? Like Les Mills obviously plays such a massive part in the group fitness industry globally. And so many people, even who might not be super well known for being Les Mills people, have come in and out of that environment at some point, especially in the US. It always makes me laugh. That team from kind of the 90s really is still showing their stuff all over the place.
Well, I think about the fun, like, full circle. One piece of advice I always give everybody in the industry is never, ever burn a bridge.
No.
Because you're eventually going to come around and work with someone again. Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, when I left Les Mills, always on great terms. Like I've had lunch with Peter Mills. When he comes to LA, he would bring me to lunch and we'd talk about what's going on in the industry. Emma Berry, who I love and adore, she was one of my mentors at Les Mills. And then she came to work for us at Equinox. So I got to work with her again for several years, which was, again, full circle, almost a decade later. And then she left Equinox and, we're still friends. I talk to her whenever I can. She's another global force and just an incredible person in our industry. I know
she is. Yeah.
And so, it's one of those things where it's like, you never know. Things always circle back. People always circle back into my life. And it's, the longer you're here, you know this, and the kind of the higher you go up in the industry, the smaller it gets. And you know everybody. So, if someone comes to me and like, hey, Jeffrey, I want to develop this program and it's XYZ. If I can't do it, if it's not in my area of expertise and I know I can't give them 110%, I am the first person to say, I am not the guy for you, but have I got somebody for you? And I will hand that opportunity off to someone that I know can actually deliver that. So it's, and I've had that done to me before too. So it's really, this industry it's pretty awesome that way. If you don't burn a bridge and you stay friendly with everybody, people help each other out. It's pretty great.
Absolutely. So on the programming and program creation side, obviously you're working for Beachbody now. How long have you been at Beachbody now?
This time, well, as an employee, I'm coming up on my 2 years. So in October, it'll be 2 years. I had done consulting for Beachbody for probably almost a decade. They first brought me in when Insanity first came out, and I wrote the manual for Insanity. And that's right when Beachbody Live was starting to develop. So I wrote the education for their master trainers, what they would deliver when they went out into the field. So I created all that content for them. And then I had done some other work for them. Periodically, they would ask me to help contribute to something. So Beachbody was always sort of in my ecosystem, but I never thought about leaving Equinox. Like Equinox was my heart and soul at the time. And I was still working for Reebok and doing some other things and traveling. And then I was offered a position with them probably 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember what the position was, but they came to me, they knocked on my door. Jeffrey, would you consider it? It wasn't the right time. And then oddly, I get this phone call out of the blue from someone named Matt Halpern, who is this incredible guy. He's chief of staff here at Beachbody. And apparently they were out looking for someone for this position. And they kept asking people in the industry, you know, do you know somebody? And they're like, you're looking for Jeffrey Scott. Like, Jeffrey Scott's
See, this is why you keep
him.
those relationships strong, right?
Right. So he's like, I've been looking for you.
Note to everybody listening.
So I took the call, and, you know, it was just the right time, you know, right time. And you just know, right, in your soul. And I'll never forget when I got my offer letter, and I was in Chicago. I was presenting for SCW. And I remember, I mean, Will, I can feel myself there right now. It was raining outside. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And the letter came in from the head of HR, and I was shaking. I was excited and nervous. I knew it was the time. And then I had to make that call to Equinox and say, it's time for me to go. And I remember literally like fighting back tears, because it was like a breakup. There was nothing wrong. There was,
just your time to move on to a new challenge.
Just time. Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember,
no, you go. Sorry.
So I remember that call, and then I went, and I tell you, you know, since I've come on board, I've never once regretted ever my decision to be here. Like I mentioned, it was the right thing for me. And I've stayed, of course, in great relationship with everyone from the top to the bottom at Equinox. And they're rebuilding after COVID, and they're doing great. But that's basically how I got to where I'm at today.
So I want to dial down a little bit into the differences between Equinox and Beachbody, because basically you have gone from being at probably the biggest name in live fitness in terms of the biggest name in sort of boutique fitness. Obviously Equinox is a full service gym rather than a boutique, but it's like, it's stylish. It's at the top of the industry. It's the name on everyone's lips. Obviously they also own SoulCycle now, right? So you went from being in the coolest brand that was sort of the tastemaker and the leader in the fitness industry in terms of style and what was coming next. And you've moved into Beachbody, which I think is undergoing a really big revamp, and going from being maybe something that was a little bit more focused in on the coach network and Shakeology into a new iteration that we're going to talk a little bit about. What was it like being at Equinox when you knew that the programming that you were creating was like the stuff that was making people think and that was getting the headlines? Like, was that an exciting place to be, leading the conversation rather than following it?
To be honest, Will, when I was in it, I never really thought about it from that perspective. To me, it was going to work and doing what I love to do. I knew that I worked for a company that was hot. I knew that, you know, we were kind of the it brand in the industry and fitness. But, you know, those of us who did that program development, Amy Dixon, myself, Lisa, LaShawn, Emma, and the team of people on the creative side, you know, when you're in it, you just, you know, it's what I do. And I loved it. So I didn't read the hype. I didn't read any of that stuff. I just felt lucky to have been in the middle of it. And when you're in it, you know, all we were thinking about at that time wasn't about how can we create the next coolest thing. It was really about how can we create the next best program, right? So there's kind of a difference, because there are brands out there that would create formats that were great for media, and they would get a ton of media hits, but they weren't sustainable.
There's a really great brand here in the UK. You would know it, I'm sure, called Gymbox, who are really, really excellent at creating very, very media friendly classes. Like they did bitch boxing, which was kind of boxing in stilettos. Doesn't transfer to every gym, isn't going to pull big numbers, but it is always going to get a headline. And that's something that I think Equinox did quite well, and that they bridged that gap between something that was going to excite the media, but also was going to be something that delivered on what was the zeitgeist of the moment and the training protocols that people were looking for.
Yeah. And, you know, we just always looked at it from the perspective of how can we help people achieve what they, you know, how can this program help people get results? How can we do it safely, effectively, and fundamentally it needed to be science-based, because, you know, boxing in heels, there's no science that proves that any of that is going to be
But no,
helpful to anybody. To the contrary,
also not very good for the floor,
about.
right? Maybe the
Not for
flooring
the
companies
floor
will be
and
pretty
not
happy
for
about
those
that.
the ankles, knees, and hips of the people that are wearing those heels. But that our goal was always to create really cool, cutting edge programming that was effective and science based. And we just loved it. When we were in it, we knew that we were doing something special. I won't lie, that we did know that we're doing something really cool, and we just wanted to make sure that we put out a product that was sustainable and that would help people. And then we let the marketing team handle all the other stuff. And that's really how we approached it. It was great. It was really, really great, but we definitely didn't let it go to our head. It wasn't, we're the coolest company ever. That was never, at least not from my team.
That just came. What was the new product flywheel like at Equinox? Like, how often were you producing a new concept or a new program or a new type of class?
Great question. At Equinox, things quarterly was kind of how 3 to 4 formats a year, and it would change between rooms. Like, so we would do something like when I created the Pursuit for Equinox, which was that digital format for them. That was the cycling room. That was a big lift. There's a lot of interactivity and an app, and like that was like a big one. But we would also create a lot of main studio programming, and then sometimes we would move into the yoga studio. So we tried to create formats that would move through different rooms to give everybody some love, because not everybody took cycling or main studio or yoga. But on average, 3 to 4 programs a year, and I would have my hand in all of them, but not, have more heavily in some than others. So if it wasn't, for example, we did a program before I left called Banded, which was a Pilates program using this very cool band with like loops. I helped with the construct and the formatting, and then I let an expert handle the exercise selection and exercise progression, because we all knew what our strengths were, which is why I think that team was so special. Nobody had an ego. It wasn't like, no, I want to do it my way. We knew. I knew when to stop, and I knew I've never been afraid in my career to ask for help or to say, you know what, guys, I've reached my limit. I need someone else to take it from here. So
I'm about to go into that process personally, because we're in the planning stages of creating a MMA/combat style format for Shift, and I know that is not not my sweet spot when it comes to either exercise prescription or authenticity. But I do know that kind of how I theoretically want it to be from a programming and structural and longevity perspective, like what I'd like to see from the program. But in terms of actually like presenting it, delivering it, creating that vibe, that's where I'm bringing in expert support because I know my own limitations.
But isn't that great though? Like, you've been doing this a long time too, and you kind of reach that point where I'm no longer on the ground doing all the detailed work. I'm more, you become more of a visionary, and like, I see this and I want to move it in this direction. So you become sort of the captain of the ship, but you're not scrubbing the deck, and you're not, then you bring other people on, and that's how you can you really help others who you see that have some talent in those categories, who you're like, I see you, I think that you've got what it takes to help make this come to life. And then you're able to provide opportunities for people who may not have ever had that opportunity before, and then they can thrive. I love being here.
This brings me to a great another question. So I've got one more question about Equinox before we move on to talking about Beachbody, which I'm also really excited to talk about because there's so much stuff happening there. At Equinox, you were involved in program creation, and that involved often taking instructors from the Equinox instructor roster and elevating them to a position of being sort of front and center of some of the new formats or some of the new programming. How did you go about identifying who was going to be those people? So for group fitness instructors listening to this podcast who might be working at a gym or working within a brand and are thinking, I really want to know how I get to that next step. How do I get the people making the decisions about who fronts this program to look at me? What do you look for when you are elevating someone to a starring role in a new program?
Such a good question. And I'm having building body right now, we have our super trainers, and I just went through a process of now bringing on a team of body instructors. They're not super trainers, but they will also be on the platform. And I've been through extensive auditions the last couple of weeks. So this is very top of my mind. And when we were at Equinox, and I think in general, I will speak in general when I'm looking for talent, it is so much about passion and personality than anything else in the world. I can help you. I can tell you what to say. I can tell you what to play. I can tell you what to do. But if you don't have that charisma and that passion for what you're doing, it's a no-go for me, right? And I have turned down many instructors and trainers who wanted these opportunities because they would come in and they might look the part, right? They might have, the 8% body fat, and they might look amazing and feel great. But if they come in with an attitude like we need us more than they need us, or if there's just like, if it's just sort of like, yeah, like I won't move forward. I would rather take somebody who I can mold a little bit, who's hungry and who has the passion, who wants to do it, who wants to make a difference. That's what I'm always looking for, because I can't teach that.
Yeah, right.
And if you're not coming to the table 110% ready to take on whatever it needs to take on to make this product a success, then I don't want you on my team. That's really the bottom line. You need to have passion for what you do. You need to be willing to work hard, and you have to want it. That's really what it is.
Right. So yeah. So ultimately, what I'm hearing is you're looking for that X factor, and not X factor in terms of like something that you can't attain unless you were born with a certain thing, but more a charisma and passion that comes from just really wanting to be part of whatever it is that they're auditioning for.
100%. I want people to show up early and to stay late if they need to. I want them to, like, I'm in coach, put me in coach. Like I want that energy on my teams. And then from there, if I have someone who is willing to learn and willing to listen and take coaching, right? So, I'm a 30-year veteran. I still ask for coaching. I will develop a format and I will give it to 4 people and say, no, like, do not hold back. Tell me exactly what you think about this format. I won't take it offensively, because I want to develop the best product. And even as a 30-year veteran, I know I'm still a work in progress, right? I'm never done. And there's always room for me to learn, for me to grow. And my biggest pet peeve is when an instructor comes to me and tells me like, oh, I've been teaching this format for 15 years. And no, I don't need any more coaching. And I will ask them, like, when's the last time you took any education? And they're like, oh, I got certified 15 years ago. And I'm like, since then? They're like, oh no, I'm an expert. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I don't care who you are. I don't care if your freaking class has 150 people in it. We still have to continue to educate ourselves, because and I know the one thing about this industry is that it's constantly evolving.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Changing. There's always something new for us to learn. And nobody wants to know it all on their team. I can tell you that much right now. So be humble, be willing to be coachable, and be passionate. Like, those are things that I'm always looking for when I'm looking for talent.
Absolutely. And okay, good. So you touched on something which I want to delve deeper into, which is fitness is always changing, and Beachbody has just gone through some pretty significant changes. So in the time between when we started talking about getting you on the podcast and the podcast actually happening, Beachbody has gone public, very, very successful, been in the news. And Beachbody is also making the transition from a program-based and super trainer-based product to body, which I'm not going to put the words in your mouth. I want you to tell me about what that is. But the first question I've got is, how did it feel coming into Beachbody with such big personalities that had created programs and were already sort of very famous and obviously had ideas about how they worked? How was it coming in and working with those personalities and then co-creating programs with them moving forward?
It's been effortless. I will tell you, 2 years ago when I started, no one knew we'd be going public this year.
Yeah.
It was, no one but Carl probably. I'd heard rumors. I think that, obviously it was on the radar, but at that time, having lived through and it's not easy to do, going public process, I can tell you now, it's exciting. Everyone is excited. But I also want to tell you that like nothing has changed internally. Everyone is working harder. If anything, we were excited, we celebrated, it was great, but it is now business as usual. Carl is still in charge, and talk about Carl is such an incredible leader. I tell you, I think the world of this man. He just inspires and motivates people. As a CEO, he is really approachable, and he wants to know what's going on. He is hands on deck. Like, the guy is just such a great leader, in my personal opinion. I work for many others, and some of them come in, in their black cars, and they're all dressed up, and they won't make eye contact with half the people that work for them. And I'm like, come on, that's not how you lead. Carl makes you want to work harder. That's the kind of leader that he is, and I really appreciate that. So getting back to the question, like, since the whole that process, like it's still like we are just moving forward. Coming in here and working with these big personalities. Well, honestly, I knew a lot of them before I even got here. So a lot of them are friends before I even took on the position. So working with them, they know me and I know them, and they know that my approach is I want nothing more than to co-create the best product possible. And that I've never been anyone who ever wanted to be in front of the camera. I am very comfortable being behind the camera. I do love public speaking. That is my passion, but never ever intended or wanted to be any form of fitness celebrity. And the little bit of celebrity that's come with my position has just been basically because of what I've done, not, me being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So I've worked with several of them, well, all of them actually, all of them many times, and I'll see several of them today.
I'm sure Joel is by far the worst. He's just a disaster. Can't stand working with him.
Who's that?
Joel, terrible.
Sean?
Joel.
Oh, Joel.
No fun. Horrible person. Terrible to have a beer with.
I was working with him yesterday. I love that man.
What I want to know is that on his Instagram, he's sitting on a bike, and I want to know, is he going to be on a bike on Body? Yeah. We're getting nodding. You can't see this. Excellent. This is something I'm really looking forward to. He refused to tell me when I asked him.
He's good at it too. And I'm working with him, and talk about someone who hugely successful, completely open to coaching, completely open to help. And he brings so much to the table. He's willing to work and listen and apply. And I love that about him. And they're all that way. I mean, honestly, every super trainer that we have that I've worked with, it's really just what it is, the energy that you bring to the conversation that will make or break any conversation. That's with a super trainer, a celebrity, a client, whatever it might be. So I just, approach it with an open heart, and they know that I'm here to help them. And together, I want to make some magic, and I want to help people live healthier, more fulfilling lives. And, when you have that collective energy, it makes for a really great working relationship. So the super trainers here are fantastic. Just the really smart, hardworking people in the industry. I tell you that much. So they've been great.
So so the people listening will obviously know about all of the amazing programs that have come out of Beachbody, P90X, Insanity, some of the newer ones, 645, like all of the 645, right? Did I get that right? Yes, 645.
That's a program that just launched.
I was like, oh my God, did I get that wrong? So like people listening will understand the program-based background of Beachbody and coming out with, quarterly coming out with something new and fresh and on trend. Tell me a little bit about Body. So just to give the listeners a bit of context, Beachbody has partnered with a company called Mix, who have fitness equipment, and they are going to be making a play for the market that Peloton is the most obvious candidate in at the moment, which is connected fitness. So tell me a little bit about like how Body, which is Beachbody On Demand Interactive, does it stand for something, or is okay, perfect. Tell me a little bit about it. I'm just like, if you have not, we will add some links to some promo materials, but if you haven't seen the stage and you're listening to this, you need to check out some of the trailers, because the stage is phenomenal. And compared to what like other big parties like Apple Fitness and Peloton are doing, this is a step up from that, I would say. And I am saying that with all honesty. This stage is something else. But anyway, Jeffrey, tell me, Body, what should we expect?
Well, first, we will continue to develop programming on BOD. We're just expanding. So what we're doing now is we'll always have BOD. We'll have continual programs being developed for BOD. and those are programs, right? So you can use it as a home gym and take whatever classes you want. You can start beginning and take it
Right.
over to the end
It's a
and
start
follow
to
nutrition.
finish process, right? Like
Right.
it's the thing
So
that
where
delivers the results.
body,
Yep.
yeah, where body is really like a home gym, a boutique studio that you can go to on your iPad, on your phone, and your laptop, and you can take signature formats from the best instructors in the business, our super trainers and our body instructors. It is all brought to you on this incredible stage, which I don't know the exact measurements. I probably should, but it's like 20 feet high, 75 feet wide, this incredible LED environment that we can basically do.
It looks like the
whatever we
stage
want
from
with.
the MTV Music Awards, like the
It
kind of
is.
thing that
That
Rihanna
is
would perform on.
exactly.
That's what I'm thinking when I see it.
Oh, when you see J-Lo and Madonna perform and all
Yeah.
those things are going on, we have the exact same
3D, so it
technology.
looks like they're standing on platforms, but yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, it's insane. It's just incredible. So what we've done is we are moving into the live interactive world, and we'll be offering 6 live classes Monday through Friday. We'll have an incredible pool of video on demand as well. And we have categories, common categories such as cycling, we have strength, we have cardio, we have HIIT, we have bar, we have Pilates and yoga and meditation. So we are bringing a really great offering, something for everybody, pun intended. So it really is something for everybody. And the classes, they vary in length. They're on this spectacular stage that is visually beautiful. The formatting is smart, if I don't say so myself, but collectively with my team, we have created signature formats that can only be found here on the Body platform. You won't find them in Bod, you won't find them anywhere else. They're formats exclusive to our platform, and all the super trainers are teaching those formats and others as well. So Bod and Body will be separate. You're not going to find a lot of crossover as far as programming, but you can take one of your favorite super trainers, you can sign up live or take that class again later on video on demand, because once a class is live, about 30 minutes later, it's immediately available in the VOD library.
Yeah, got it.
So, we are bringing cutting edge formats, science-based, incredible instructors in an environment that is visually stimulating and beautiful to watch. And like you mentioned, it is different than a lot of other platforms out there. And, I'm friends, you are friends with those other platforms. So, Apple, Jay and Lisa, and all, they're all like like best friends. They're great friends, and they're doing incredible work. iFit's doing it. Everyone's doing incredible work. There's a lot of room for everyone. I always say that. I never compare us to anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
I just, one thing I've learned from Jay as my mentor as well is like, I just stay focused on what I'm doing and just do the best, create the absolute best product I can. I don't worry too much about my competition. I just stay a little myopic in my vision and continue to just drive that forward. So
it's always good though when you're introducing a new product to impress people. And I have to say that, like, I can say this speaking outside of any of these major platforms and being kind of like an industry reviewer or watcher, I'm very impressed with what Body looks like. And that I was curious because I'm like, how are they going to pull this off? This is a crowded marketplace, and Beachbody is having to pivot away from what it knows and into something new, which is obviously, the fresh daily content. But it looks exciting. And we will, as I said, we'll link to some trailers in the show notes so that you can see this. So when is Body launching so that people can kind of keep an eye out for when all these new formats will be coming to market?
September 14th, it goes live. So on September 14th, it will be available to the public. And we're going into our beta testing right now. Everything is developed, it's baked, schedule's ready, talent's in place. We're doing some rehearsals right now, and we're getting it all ready. It's all that sort of behind the scenes. Never let them see how you make the sausage kind of stuff. So we are really getting ready because everyone is just taking this very seriously, very excited. We want this to be the best product we could possibly create. So we're in that sort of creation mode right now and fine tuning everything, making sure all the tech is operating properly. And it's so far, we knock on wood, that things are going really well, right? But that's one thing about tech, and it's like tech can be tricky.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
I mean,
one thing
just
with
doing
tech,
this podcast, half the time I log into my Zoom, they've done an update and I'm having to like frantically update my Zoom before I can get the other person on the line.
always right. And I remember when we created that program called The Pursuit, like there was so much tech and stuff. And Sarah Robohagen, a brilliant girl, was the CEO of Equinox at the time. She's like, Jeffrey, just relax. You don't know what you don't know until you launch. And there's going to be good days and bad days, highs and lows. You just have to roll with it, learn from it, and course correct as quickly as you can. I'm sure there'll be potential bumps, but we are ready to figure that out as soon as possible. But overall, the product is fantastic in my personal opinion, and I'm really excited for everyone to see it. I really am.
Yeah, I am too. It's going to be a very exciting launch, and to see how much of a splash it makes in the fitness landscape. So I don't want to keep too much of your time, because obviously you have a lot on your plate. So I have a couple of questions that I want to ask before we finish up.
Sure.
The first one is, what do you see as, have you like taking your time back to being an instructor? So stepping out of kind of the headspace of what you're doing at Beachbody and thinking back to your time as an instructor, but knowing what you know about the way the industry is going, what do you see as being the big trends and the big developments within the next 2 to 3 years? Obviously, digital is a big one. Is there anything else on the horizon that you think is coming?
That's a really good question. And you did say it. It's clear that COVID has changed the world of fitness as we know it, and I do believe that a large contingency, once this is somewhat over, people will go back into the gym, because there's nothing like that live experience, right? There's nothing like being in that cycling studio and it's full and the music is blasting and the coach is on and you're like, ah! We all love that sensation. However, what we didn't know is that was all we knew. And now we understand that we can actually have similar experiences with the energy and the visuals and still have great results from exercising, but we don't have to drive to the gym, find parking spot, get a locker, change your clothes, stand in line for class, and all the things that led up to that experience. We're able to just move to a different room, push play, and then bam, it's right there in our house. So I do not think that the digital is going away. I think it will continue to grow and morph and strengthen. I think there'll always be a hybrid now, because I'm sure you've been to the gym too, where I go to the gym and I see people in the group fitness studio now.
I see a lot of people they don't have the requisite equipment at home, right? Like they don't have the dumbbells, they don't have the space, they live in an apartment, they can't jump. But I see a lot of people following along with a Beachbody workout or a fit workout or whatever workout they might be doing, individual instructors. I see a lot of people on their phones with their Bluetooth headphones in, doing a workout that's been pre-programmed, but doing it in the situation of a gym.
Absolutely. So I do think that will continue to grow and grow and grow. That's not going away. It's too convenient, and it is. What's really interesting too is that it's lucrative for all the instructors watching too. If you can monetize what you're doing and start to build that base, you could have a nice hybrid of both. You can fine tune what you do in a live environment and then bring it to what you do in a digital environment. Because one thing that digital doesn't provide that live that made instructors better is immediate feedback. Right. So when you're in a room, what works and what didn't work.
You give a cue and no one does the thing you want them to do. And you're like, well, back to the drawing board with that one.
Right. So that when you're live, like you're constantly getting immediate feedback for how even exercise sequencing, did that work? Was it too hard? Was it not hard enough? How did that cue land? Okay.
I forget how much you learn by trying a cue and having it fail completely, and just the knowledge that you can never use that again because no one knew what you were trying to achieve.
Right. And even my humor, like I think sometimes I think I'm hysterical.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, I think I'm funny as heck. And like you look around, you're like, okay, that did not land in my head. That was hysterical, but it just didn't land. And so having that as a way to continue to fine tune what you do digitally, because you don't have that feedback and you need that feedback to make sure that the product you're delivering on that digital platform is the best it can be. So I really think that if I was an instructor today, if I was just getting started, I was in the first 10 years of my career, I would really consider strongly having a hybrid of both. I wouldn't lean in either direction. I would really figure out how to do both. And if you don't know how to do it digitally, find a mentor, find somebody who can coach you, teach you how to do it, because I think that it's going to be a big part of this industry ongoing.
Yeah. And my last question was actually going to be, what piece of advice would you give to an instructor? But you just gave it. So you've emptied out my questions and answered everything that I would have asked you. So all that's left to say is thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and to give the listeners some advance notice of what they can expect from all the exciting things coming out of Beachbody. How many of so you've got the super trainers, how many new instructors can we expect to see within the teaching roster?
We have about 12 new body instructors joining the team in a variety of different formats. They are, it's a great, well-rounded group of instructors. In each category, they are experts in their category. So we were surgical with when we were looking for talent to make sure that we had the right talent, that they would appeal to a broad audience, that they provided the right combination of education, motivation, and that they, were going to be able to really succeed on the platform. Because it does, it doesn't always translate. You can be great in the room and not great on camera. And it's really, not everyone is meant to be in front of the camera. Some people thrive in the room and not. So these guys are, I'm super excited to watch, to see them develop and to soar on this platform. So right now, about 10 to 12 people, and more will be coming as the platform grows.
Very exciting. Well, thank you very much, Jeffrey Scott. And I look forward to seeing all that you've got in store for us.
Yes, Body, September 14th, that goes live. Will, thank you so much for having me. First,
my pleasure.
Great to see you. I know this is a podcast, but it's great to see your face. It's been a long time. I'm honored that you even thought of me, and I'm just really happy for you, and congratulations on your success. And
cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, never hesitate to
Well, when we can travel again, I'm going to come and visit that studio because I want to see it in person because it looks amazing.
Oh, absolutely. You will flip out. It is extraordinary. And then when you're on it, because I've taught on it several times, even that is like, you feel like you're in another world. So please, when you come out, obviously you'll let me know. I'll take you to lunch and I'll show you the studio.
Perfect.